Hello and welcome to Manchester United, the D Unit's view. If you are new around here, please make sure you like the video and please press the subscribe button as well if you are enjoying the content and the Man United stuff. Look, let's talk about the game. Obviously, the first game under Rueben Amorim did not go as, I'll be honest, I predicted a 4-0 win. And after 81 seconds, I thought we were well on track for at least a win. Unfortunately, it started super well, and we actually started the second half super well as well. Unfortunately, it just didn't translate to a good 90-minute performance. And truth be told, the game was a pretty fair result. I mean, a draw actually probably ended up flattering United in terms of like the actual chance creation. The chances that Ipswich had. Andre Onana was unbelievably good in this game. Like, he was fantastic. He made some absolutely point-blank saves, which pretty much, and Amorim alluded to this in his post-match press conference, basically said that, you know, we were kind of lucky that we didn't actually lose the game in the end. So that was something to take out of it. So look, it was interesting. It was an interesting game. The lineup was interesting as well, and I don't think we're likely to see this lineup again. I think this was a combination of the fact that players were coming back from international break and they weren't quite ready for the game, particularly in the case of Manuel Ugarte. He started on the bench. I don't expect him to be starting many games on the bench. And I think the one glaring issue that I definitely noticed in the first half was definitely a lot more noticeable than the second. The second, we definitely had much more control of the game. It was literally 50% possession each in the first half. And Casemiro and Eriksen just looked a little one-paced, a little slow in the centre of midfield, and I think that definitely came back to bite us on the arse. It definitely wasn't overly fantastic, and they looked a little bit cumbersome, and we definitely looked a lot better when Manuel Ugarte came on for Casemiro. And obviously, the later the game went, and we'll talk about the lineups in a second, when Bruno Fernandes dropped deep, I think that robbed us of his ability closer to goal. So that was also an interesting tactic. I'm not sure if we'll see that. Mainu was on the bench and didn't come on, which makes me think that he wasn't really ready for the game, because I feel like that would have been the more natural substitution. And we'll get onto his subs in a minute. But I did like the attacking intent and the fact that he was bold with his substitutions. He didn't even wait to the 60-minute mark. 55 minutes, he'd seen enough. And he did cut quite animated, maybe even a frustrated sort of figure on the touchline at times during the game. So that's also something that I noticed, particularly throughout the game watching it. I mean, it was on at a ridiculous time, and if this had been earlier, I would have probably done this review straight after the game. But now that I've had to think about it, I've had like 4 hours sleep today because of it, and gone to work. I just think that, you know, moving forward, we've got to be better. There's obviously it wasn't a loss, but in reality, we need to be beating teams like Ipswich Town. Like we can't afford to be dropping points there. I think at the end of the season, obviously we're not going to be judging Amorim based on what happens this season, but I think these kind of games are the ones where we sit back and look back at the end of the season and go, that's probably why we finished 8th or 9th, wherever we end up. It will be because of games like this. And that's fine, because obviously it is going to take time. And I think we are going to be in for a bit of pain while the players adapt, or Amorim finds out that these players aren't capable of doing what he wants them to do. But I still think that there's plenty to work with, and there were definitely some positives to take out of this game. So without further ado, let's dive into the lineup. Now, I'm going to share this on video, so hopefully this works for everyone. If you are watching along on video on YouTube, this will make it easy, and I'll talk it through for people that are following along on audio. So we lined up in the classic 3-4-2-1 formation that Amorim likes to play. Interestingly enough, Johnny Evans started as the left centre-back. De Ligt started in the centre as predicted, and Mazraoui was the one that started at right centre-back in the 3. In the midfield, it was Casemiro and Eriksen, which was definitely a bit of a shock. I was not expecting Eriksen to be playing. I did expect Casemiro, and I thought it might have been Casemiro with Ugarte. However, that wasn't the case. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues moving forward. I strongly doubt that it will. I mean, Eriksen's 100% leaving in the summer. You would think that as soon as Ugarte is back from international duty, we'll probably slot straight back in there. I would think that would be my understanding of it. On the left, obviously, we had Diego Dalot. And he had an interesting game. I wouldn't say he played poorly, but I also wouldn't say he played well. Ipswich's goal by Hutchinson, it was an unfortunate goal because Anana, I think, was actually saving it. But it glances Mazraoui's head and really beats. That's what it actually beats Anana. It was a good goal. It had been coming. Let's be honest. It's not like they weren't worthy of that goal. Then obviously on the the right wing back, we had Amad Diallo, who I actually thought, outside of Andre Onana with his saves, was our best player by a country mile. He looked like he'd been playing the wing back position for most of his career. Like, he defended quite well. I think there was only one moment where it probably should have been a goal. It was one of the chances that fell to Liam Delap. That was the only time where I thought that he was caught a little bit flat-footed. But other than that, I thought that he was absolutely fantastic. So that's something to keep in mind. And then obviously we have Bruno Fernandes and Alejandro Garnacho in the two inside forward 10 roles to begin the game. And we had Marcus Rashford up top. And he scored. Rashford didn't do much other than get his goal. But you don't expect Marcus Rashford to go back and defend or whatever. He's never done that throughout his career. And I still think that he probably should be starting in that number 9 role going forward, because I think that he is the most likely of him out of Rasmus Højlund and Marcus Rashford. I'd say that Marcus Rashford, now that he's scored a goal in this game, you just keep playing him until he stops scoring goals and goes off the boil, because that's the kind of player that he is. I think that he probably should continue starting as well. And we'll talk about the subs in a second, but like the first half, it was a very even game. We didn't control the ball overly well. We kept giving it away, which was a recurring theme. Amorim said in his pre-match press conference we need to keep the ball better. Well, he wouldn't have been overly impressed with the amount of times we just coughed it up pretty easily, truth be told, in this game. It wasn't overly fantastic. I mean, the second half was a lot more controlled, but we also became a lot more stale moving forward. Our chances in the second half were barely non-existent. We had, I think, 3 shots on target in the first half. We only had 1 in the second. So that pretty much says all you want. Dalot as well got forward in a position where he had a chance. But again, he just doesn't finish very well. It's just a recurring theme, scoring goals. And I think it was the one positive thing out of this is that the size of the task for Rueben Amorim was on full display. Because all our shortfalls, all our, going away, having good moments in games, then all of a sudden just disappearing for long swathes of the game, that was all on display in this game. And so it will be good because he'll have an understanding now. The one thing that I will say, having watched the game, the shape was definitely there. You could see the structure of the team, bar a couple of times in the first half where Casemiro and Eriksen got found out wanting. I think that was purely because of the fact that neither of them has any legs, which is why I don't think they're a sustainable midfield 2 moving forward. Because the way Amorim's team is set up, those 2 players in there really have to be box-to-box players. They have to be able to get up and down the pitch. And they've got to be able to move and cover the grass. And I just don't think that those 2, I don't think we're likely to see that combination again unless they're seeing out a game and it's slightly different. But I could be wrong. But for me, I can't see them starting there myself. It just wouldn't make too much sense to me. But yeah, so that was obviously interesting. Now, in the second half, the 2 subs that were... And Johnny Evans looked shaky at left centre-back. Now, I'm not sure if that's because of the fact that he's not used to playing in a back 3, and that's probably something that, you need to be aware of moving forward. But he went off on 56 minutes, and Luke Shaw made his long-awaited return and first appearance for Manchester United, and he looked a lot better. Prior to that moment, most of Ipswich's attacks had come down the right-hand side, or Man United's left-hand side. And Luke Shaw definitely put an end to that. He was very good. He was very controlled. He didn't have to do much, but he plays that role really well. And we did see that under Erik ten Hag, that Luke Shaw is capable of playing that centre-back type of role. And I think with the way his body is, you'd think he'd be great as a left wing-back, but I just don't think his body will be able to hold up to that. But I can see his body holding up for a left centre-back role where he's not going to have to be doing as much running, and he can use his brain and tactical awareness, hopefully, to make us a little bit surer, particularly going forward and also from the defence. It was arguably, we definitely did look better with him in the team than out of the team. And then obviously Ugarte came on for Casemiro and definitely provided a lot more energy. Obviously the grass was covered a lot more. Ugarte's obviously a lot quicker and a lot more younger, so he can do that, whereas Casemiro physically just can't. I think I probably would have preferred to see Ugarte come on for Ericsson and then leave Bruno where he was, because we'll get to the next substitution. So I actually thought the first two made the team arguably better, but then the second two, well, I don't know. I'm not sure about the second two. So in the 68th minute, he made two more changes. So Rasmus Højlund came on to replace Marcus Rashford and didn't really offer a hell of a lot. He obviously put in more effort in terms of his running and things like that. I just don't think he's learnt where he needs to make the runs, because he didn't really have any chance or look at goals here. And Joshua Zirkzee came on, and I'll point out an article that ESPN wrote very shortly. And it's just interesting because he's not very good. I don't rate him, and he looked like a headless chook. And even after Rueben Amorim spent one-on-one time before he came on trying to tell Zirkzee what he wanted from him, and all you could see the entire time was him encouraging Zirkzee to move forward, but it's just like Zirkzee doesn't want to do it or something, or he just doesn't get where he's meant to be. I'm not sure. I just don't rate him, and I'd be surprised if he actually has too much of a role moving forward. I'd be shocked. I just really don't rate him at all. He just looks slow and cumbersome, and there was nothing in here. I think he had one back heel and that was it the whole time he was on the field. And he was on there for a good 22 minutes plus injury time, so about almost half an hour. And then obviously we made one last sub. Alejandro Garnacho came off for Mason Mount, who also made his return from another injury layoff. So hopefully he can get a bit of a crack at it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, moving forward, Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes as the two inside 10s, feeding Rashford. I could see that potentially happening. Again, the press looked a bit disjointed. The defenders just sitting too far back, whereas the attackers went too far forward. I think we'll see that improve under Amorim. It's just a matter of time. I hate to say it, but it is probably going to be a matter of time in regards to that. But there's definitely something to take into account there. I'll quickly run through the stats now. So there was this is how even the game was. There was 11 shots each. So Ipswich and Man United both had 11 shots each. Ipswich actually shaded the shots on target. They had 6. We had 4. Total passes, we obviously dominated in the second half of the ball possession. So we had 644 to 421. Successful passes of 348 to 563. Tackles were pretty even, 7 and 8 to United's favour. And aerial duels won were in United's favour as well, 9 to 14. Corners were pretty even as well. I'm not sure what they actually were. But look, Rueben Amorim obviously talked afterwards. And I'll talk about why Ahmad impressed me. So Ahmad got up and down the wing so effectively that you wouldn't have believed that it was his first time playing this particular role. His run for the goal was absolutely amazing. He just brushed off a couple of Ipswich players, got in, and then dinked it over beautifully. That Marcus Rashford, as long as he made some sort of contact, he was getting to the ball before the keeper, and it was just pretty much finishing a super easy finish. It didn't look that easy, but it probably was that easy. And yeah, that was fantastic. It got us up and roaring. The away fans were up and about, and then all of a sudden we just sort of there was a bit of drift. There wasn't a control. I think if we'd had the control of the second half, Ipswich may not have scored. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case in the first half. They did create some really good opportunities. And we can probably thank Andre Onana for the fact that we did actually take a walk away with a point in this game, because Ipswich definitely had the better chances, even if we had the lion's share of possession, particularly in the second half. I think that was the theme, that in the second half we had more of the ball. And there was one moment, I think, in the second half where we went bang, 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 bang. And it was like first time passes the whole way through, and then it sort of broke down when it got forward. I think you can see what they want to do, but I just don't know if... Amorim talked about that. He goes, I've tried to put so much into him the last 3 days. It's probably the overthinking. And it did look like at moments we were overthinking about what we should be doing, where we should be moving. And it is a different system that we played. You would think that it is going to take a little bit of time to get used to. And obviously, he probably doesn't have the 11 players out there currently, particularly starting this game, that are probably going to be starting for him in, say, a month's time. I mean, if Lenny Yoro comes back, you would think that he's probably likely to start. Again, Mainu, surely he's going to get in the team. Ugarte's probably going to be starting as well. And then, he might freshen up the forward mix. Maybe he starts with Rasmus Højlund instead of Marcus Rashford. I'm not sure. I think Marcus Rashford did enough for me, and Rasmus Højlund didn't do enough in order for that hierarchy to continue, at least in the short term. I think Marcus Rashford should probably be starting ahead of Rasmus Højlund. I think that's going to create a lot of divide amongst the people that watch these videos, but that's just my personal opinion. But Amad was amazing, and I think he's nailed. I think he's finally going to get his run of consistency in the team, which means he's just going to develop for even further, and I think that's going to be fantastic for him moving forward. It's definitely something that I believe is going to be big for him. And let me know in the comments, who was your best player in the game? Obviously on Onana for me, probably shades Amad. But in terms of the outfield players, I feel like Amad was definitely the pick of the players by some distance. I just think the quality in general was just a little bit lacking. And I think that would be pretty obvious to Rueben Amorim in terms of, what he said post-match. So he did say he was happy with the intent of the players. So I'm just going to quickly read out what he said here. So they tried to do it. That's the main point, said Ruben. We have a lot to improve, but they tried. This is the first point, the most important point. They were thinking too much during the game, trying to cope with everything we said during training. But it was just 2 trainings. We could win this game, but also Onana did great saves. It's always tough to play in this league, and we will improve in the future. Amorim stressed that his relationships with the players now at his disposal were still in the early stages and said that he would work to fill them with belief and a sense of a joy for football. They are intelligent and they have to believe in it, he infused. And they have to believe and remember they are good players and they have to enjoy. So we'll try to do that, giving information, trying to help them. It's important for me to know the players, what they like to do, what they are capable of doing, and we need time to find that. Today was not a good result, but we will improve in the future. And then Andre Onana was obviously arguably United's outstanding figure in Ipswich, and Amorim agreed with general consensus that the Cameroonian was a rock for the Reds. A goalkeeper is so important in one team. When we needed, Onana was there, he praised. With the ball, he was very good. He didn't use all the time long balls. He tried to connect, so it was a great game for Andre. So obviously there's 4 days before the next game. So Amorim reassured fans that every minute would be maximised to speed up the squad's appreciation for the new idea they are being asked to deliver on the pitch. And this is what he said on that. That is the goal, to use the time on the training pitch, he said. We have to use every minute to work with the team. Everybody has to play with this schedule, and we will do that. Everybody is going to play. We have to, all together, try to find ways to win games, to win time, and to improve the team. It is likely, potentially, that he will actually change the team significantly over the coming games, just to find out what he thinks is better, and hopefully to spend some dedicated time on the training field with his players rather than just doing recovery, one training session game. Because with the games literally every 3 or 4 days for the foreseeable next 5 or 6 weeks, he's not going to have time to implement his ideas on the training pitch because there's going to be too much recovery. So maybe players get sat out of games in order to learn his principles, in order to learn where the positional sense during games. And I've got no problem with that. I think that they should easily account for, I'm going to hazard a guess and say it's Bodo Glint. I was going to say Hodo Glint, but it's actually Bodo Glint. So Bodo Glint play on Thursday night. They come to Old Trafford in the Europa League. You'd think they'd easily account for them, and that's probably a good chance to probably not play the players that you want to play in the Premier League. I'm not sure if that's what you do, but definitely. Obviously, we've got Everton at home this Sunday as well. Maybe he plays the team that he wants to play, Arsenal, this week during the week, and then they play a different team against Everton. I'm not sure, but I think he really wants to spend that time in terms of getting those players fit, getting them ready and things like that. So I think that's definitely something to keep in mind. Obviously, Andre Onana, as I said, made some fantastic saves, and he was brilliant. I just think there's some players we probably won't see starting again for the time being, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, I'm going to go to ESPN and quickly show you this article. And where are we? So, hold on. We'll go to home. My bad. And so, here we go. So, Amorim said we're fit. I love how they said this. ESPN have reported that Amorim has basically said that United are set for a long period of suffering. Yes, it's going to take a while. I don't think anyone's in danger of saying that. But really, come on. It's just clickbait material. This, though, I thought was pretty accurate. So Mark Ogden, I don't normally mind his reporting. He's normally got some stuff that I don't mind reading. But he did say this, and this was pretty funny. Well, it's But it sums up what I think about Joshua Zirkzee. So he goes, for 81 seconds, it all seemed so easy for Rueben Amorim. In his first game as Manchester United head coach, Marcus Rashford, the player who has embodied the club's troubled recent past, had scored inside 2 minutes to make a dream start against Ipswich Town. Then reality bit and Amorim discovered just how big of a job he has taken on after Sunday's 1-1 draw. A game that began so brightly for the sixth man tasked with recreating Sir Alex Ferguson's glory years at United ended with Amorim angrily ordering Joshua Zirkzee, the forward introduced as a second-half substitute, to get into the Ipswich penalty box and offer some attacking threat rather than saunter around while the game passed him by. And that's essentially what was happening. By that stage, United led their lead slip following a stunning 43rd minute equaliser by Amari Hutchinson that flicked off Mazraoui's head. And Ipswich had gone close on several occasions to taking the lead, twice being denied by crucial Andre Onana saves from Liam Delap. Amorim wanted urgency, and Zirkzee was moving as though he was taking a leisurely walk on the beach. That summed up the problems that Amorim, recruited from the Portuguese champion Sporting CP, must overcome. He has many issues to address, but when a striker needs to be told that he should be trying to score a winning goal in stoppage time, it points to the malaise that runs deep at Old Trafford. And I think that sums it all up perfectly for me. I just don't see Joshua Zirkzee working out. And I know it's early to judge players, but he's a player that has shown nothing to me that he's going to work in the Premier League. He looks, I can actually see how he's done really well in Italy because it's a much slower league. The Premier League is a brutal league. It is a league played at speed. And he is not a player that looks overly quick when he's out there. He also doesn't look like he's tactically the very aware either, being my honest opinion. But I know it's hard to beat down the players. I'm not trying to beat down him. I just think that he's lacking quality, and I think that's been half the problem with the squad build over a long period of time is just the lack of quality being bought and the money being spent needs to actually go on players that have got a lot of upside and actually have some quality. I think that decision in the summer to buy him instead of an actual proper striker is probably going to come back to haunt us. But look, hopefully he can make Rasmus Højlund kick on. But we're just going to have to wait and see, I suppose. The Bodo Glimt game is going to be interesting. So looking ahead to that, what can we expect? I'm not sure. I think we'll probably see a lot more players being used on Thursday night. I think there'll be some heavy squad rotation I think he's going to try out all his options. And why wouldn't you? If you're new to the job, you want to be able to see who's actually going to be able to come into your team and hopefully deliver you some results. And I think that at the end of the day, that's pretty much what you want. You want results. And he did talk about that in his post-match interview as well, that the needing to balance, we need to get the structure right. You will see an idea. And yes, we saw the idea in the structure, but he was also very keen to point out that we need to actually get results as well. We can't just be ticking along not getting them. And I think he's very conscious of the fact that he needs to be getting them. It was great, though. Listening to him, obviously Ed Sheeran crashed his post-match interview on Sky Sports as well, which was funny. But he probably did not find that funny. And I think he'd rather not have to be dealing with the media and just crack on with the most important thing at the moment. That's actually coaching the players because they are in need of some serious coaching and we need to be able to see if they're going to be adaptable or not adaptable moving forward. And it'll be interesting to see how it develops. Hopefully we see the shape come on quicker rather than slower. But we need to work on actually getting goals. And I think that's going to be Rueben Amorim's chief, most important thing moving forward is he's going to need to be able to get goals. And I think that's where it comes down to. If he can't get goals moving forward, then it's going to be a problem in terms of being able to get the team up the table. And I think that is the most important thing. We've got to be making progress. I think there was definitely positives to take out of it. Don't get me wrong at all. I think it was just slightly disappointing that we couldn't beat a team of Ipswich who have only won one game all season, and that was against Tottenham. So that on that note, it was disappointing. Like the result was disappointing, and I think the performance across the board was also disappointing. But you could see a shape, you could see a structure, and you just think that when he starts playing the players that probably he wanted to start from the start, it will probably look a lot better. And hopefully it's just a matter of time before it starts clicking moving forward. I mean, Fernandez looked good. I think he just was wasted when he moved deeper, but he is probably our best passer and chance creator, so I can understand why he did move him backwards. I think he probably was just exacerbated by the fact that Joshua Zirkzee brought on to play in that role that Fernandez vacated to move backwards to fill where Eriksen was. Zirkzee did nothing to suggest that he's capable of doing anything that Bruno can do. So that was just, my general take on the game. So look, disappointing result in general and performance, but hopefully we've seen signs and roots of stuff that is to come. And I'll be back watching the game on Thursday night. I won't be previewing that game, but I will be covering the reaction post-game. And hopefully it's good. I'll hopefully get that one out soon after the actual game on Thursday night. Friday morning here in Australia, so it'll be another late night or early morning for me this time because it's on at 4 a.m. the game, I think. So that's not too bad. So I can live with that one. But yeah, look, hopefully you've enjoyed that, and let me know in the comments what you thought of the performance. It was an interesting first up game under Rueben Amorim, and I think he's learnt a lot about the league and the squad and just how difficult and big the task is going to be. He's not going to have it sugar-coated anymore. He's well aware of the task at hand, and I believe that he is a man that is going to get hard at work and hopefully get us up the table before long. Thanks for joining me. That's been Manchester United, the D Unit's View.